I'm Kathy Alm, honored to be the CEO of PATH International, and I'm very excited to have this opportunity to connect with you today. I know each of you are being impacted by COVID-19 on several fronts. In addition to the center and work challenges, we all have family and friends we are worried about. I want everyone to know, one of the things I want you to get out of today is that you're not alone. In fact, at this moment, you're on a webinar that currently has almost 400 attendees, and we have over 800 signed up, so we expect that number to keep climbing. So I'd like to get started by getting a few demographics from all of you. Bret is opening a poll asking you to mark which position most directly describes yours. The second poll that Bret will open will be a poll asking what time zone you're in. You'll notice one of the time zones is international, since it's very possible we've been joined by some of our international members. One housekeeping item, with the exception of Dana and myself, everyone else is muted. You probably heard that when you first joined. You know, we talked about this, but we couldn't imagine what it would have been like to try to have a conversation with over 800 people on the line. However, you can send questions via the question panel or the chat function. Bret Maceyak, PATH International Credentialing Manager, will monitor those questions. We know there will be too many questions to answer today. We will answer what we're able. We'll review the questions after for any follow-up. So today is about addressing the impact of COVID-19 and helping you navigate the present and plan for the future for your center and participants, as well as reminding each of us, as I said before, we're not alone. We're all in this together. So just looking real quickly, we've got a majority of executives and leaders, followed closely by program directors and a few board members with us. That's great. All right. A lot of Eastern folks. Yep, we've got a couple of international. So Eastern, Central, Mountain, and Pacific time, but we've got a pretty good spread. So again, welcome everybody. All right. So I want to start by assuring you that PATH International is stable. We're doing our own scenario planning in order to stay that way, while remaining focused first and foremost on serving you, the members, as well as providing professional credentialing opportunities for the entire industry. I wouldn't necessarily go and say it's business as usual, because I don't think it's business as usual for any of us, particularly since all of our staff are working remotely. However, it is business as usual in terms of where our focus is, and that what's most important to us is that you, the members, are getting the support you need to navigate these times. As part of our focus on members and certificates, we've initiated the following support. And if you miss any of what I'm about to say, you can go to our webpage, and the first page has all of this information on it. We have reduced certification maintenance fee by 50% for members through May, including all levels of membership. We have put all of our existing webinars at half price through May 31st. The reduction in virtual conference fee to $150. It's normally $219, but the virtual conference that we're holding in May will only be $150. We've extended therapeutic writing instructor process and the CTRI transition until June 30th of next year. Center membership renewal has extended the deadline through April 31st, and the late fee is waived. We are making extensions on certification process deadlines and validity of prerequisites as needed. And we're also working with state chairs and encouraging them to set up Zoom networking meetings by state so people have a way to touch base with each other. We have developed a COVID-19 bulletin, which we are sending whenever there is critical information pertinent to you. We're trying very hard to balance this with not over-communicating, since I know firsthand inboxes are filling up and there is a wealth of information out there. If you missed any of those communications, again, you can find those on the front page of our website. In our last bulletin, we stressed the loan information coming from the Small Business Administration. This information is pertinent to both profit and nonprofit organizations. PATH International has already applied for the Payroll Protection Program, so I can tell you, although you need to be able to gather required documentation, It is not an overly onerous process. I'm highlighting this because I cannot emphasize enough. You should look into there's two particular loan programs. You should look into them today and decide which one makes the most sense, and you should apply today or within the next few days, because obviously there is a certain bucket of money, and we want to make sure that you get your application in there while there is still money in that bucket. Those loans, they are termed loans, but both of those loans have part or all forgiveness built in, meaning you could get a payroll protection loan, and it's for 2.5 times your average payroll, and they will forgive that loan if you keep staff on payroll and pay them for the 8 weeks following getting that loan. I hope that makes sense. There is in the handout section of this webinar, there is information on those loans, and you just need to it says it's information for nonprofits. That's just what it got titled, but the information for the for-profits is in there as well. So I highly recommend you looking at that handout section. So I know that Dana is going to talk about this, but I wanted to add my 2 cents to the beginning of this presentation. Planning can no longer be treated as a luxury. It is imperative to plan in order to survive. You must both stay present and take time to look to the future. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Dana Moburg. Dana is a 23-year veteran as the executive director of the J.F. Shea Therapeutic Writing Center in California, a PATH International Premier Accredited Center. And they've been at the forefront, and she's been at the forefront, of responding to the recommendations of the CDC and other government officials at their facility. Dana not only brings years of experience and expertise as a leader, she also brings incredible street smarts, knowing how to use her experience, expertise, and heart on a daily basis for the betterment of her center, the participants, the staff, the volunteers, and all of the Shea Center stakeholders. And she generously shares that knowledge with other PATH International members and centers, strengthening the entire EAT industry all the time. I am honored to call Dana my colleague and my friend, and am very grateful for her willingness to share with us today. Dana, the webinar is yours.
Well, this is very exciting. This is my first webinar, so I appreciate your patience and your tolerance as I continue to navigate both PowerPoint, talking with all of you throughout the country. Thanks. It's really good to be here, and it's good to see each of you. In my mind's eye, I have the many years of conferences that I've been sitting in front of you or standing in front of you and talking with each of you and experiencing the passion and dedication and just general love of what we do. So with that, listen, this is extraordinary. This is an extraordinary period of time. And so if you've been to any of the workshops that I've taught over the years, there's a couple of things that I want you to really remember and to think about. And the first one is what Kathy said, we're not alone. There's going to be things that come up for you today that just kind of resonate for you. And I want you to have a pad of paper and be ready to take some notes. And because we're going to go through a presentation that is essentially probably about 2 days worth of information, all power packed in for this. Because I want you to have access to the tools, the ideas, the thoughts that may be sitting there in front of you, but you didn't realize that's what you needed. Everything we'll talk about today is something you need. You may just not need it right now. Maybe you'll need it tomorrow. So I want you to listen to your gut. I want you to be attentive to what you're hearing and how it resonates with you today. Listen, there are 70,000 people in the country who count on us to do our jobs. And so, and we're not alone. And meaning we're not alone, every single organization and business in the world is dealing with this issue right now. And we can do this. We can do this. We can navigate this time and this process, and we can and we will come out stronger for our people that we serve. So here's the other peculiar thing, is that there are so many of you, if we get to our full capacity of people who registered, not everything I say is going to register for every single person. So be patient and stick through the whole webinar, because even if you're walking around just listening to this, and you're going to miss some really cute photos, but if you're listening to this, it's still out there. The thing you're supposed to get today, you will get, okay? But every business is different, and there were questions ahead of time. How do I navigate this with my for-profit EAAT center? And frankly, I would submit to you that if every business focused the way that we're going to suggest that you take a look at today, we'll all make it through this. We're going to be a little bruised and a little scarred, but okay, we're going to be here because our clients need us to be here. So, all right, here's your job. Here's the beginning of this. For the next 90 minutes, I need you to do something that is probably really hard, given all the demands on our time right now and all the things that we have to be thinking about, the to-do list, masks, everything. I need you to just pause, hit the pause button, and give yourself some grace. Give yourself some time. Give yourself a space to be present with all of the people here on this community right now. Because if you do that, you will allow a space to be created in your brain, in your heart, in your being, for whatever the next answer is supposed to be. So I'm going to ask you a couple of things. I want you to think about a time when you were, so this is for 10 seconds. I want you to take deep breaths, and I want you to think about this. This isn't that kind of seminar, but I need you to get into a space where you can hear what we're going to be talking about today. So for 10 seconds, I want you to think about these things while I kind of give you a scenario. I want you to take a deep breath. I want you to remember a time when you were your most courageous, when you were your most brave. For me, it's going to the dentist. For you, it might have been pulling your child out of a swimming pool when they were struggling. But think about when you felt your most courage. It could be anything. And then I want you to think about a time when you were your most creative. You were looking for a solution. You couldn't find the answer to a problem. And I want you to think about a time when you had that aha moment where you were your most creative, and breathe. Deep, deep breaths. And then I want you to remember a time where you were your most peaceful. Were you sitting in a field staring at horses? Were you walking through the mountains? Were you sitting at Starbucks having a cup of coffee, reading a book? I want you to call on those memories because they will allow you to be present here, right now, and in this period of time. Give yourself that gift. Give yourself this gift of these 90 minutes to be here and get what you are supposed to get, okay? So that was even longer than 10 seconds. So now you can take one more giant deep breath, because here we go. I love Winston Churchill. He was a phenomenal leader, a phenomenal character. I just read a wonderful article about him. And I love this quote, never, never, never give up. And it's what Winston did is his public persona was one of such bravery, such brashness, such courage. And this article I read talked about the private side of Sir Winston, and that in those private moments, he had the same fears and worries that all of Great Britain had, that the whole world had. The whole world was on his shoulders and other Western leaders. But let's think about this a little bit more, because what Sir Winston did is a great role model, is that he, even when he didn't feel it, he was brave. He pretended he was brave. He acted that he was brave. And there's some part of him, his big persona, that actually was that person. But privately, he grieved, and I think that's an important thing for us to acknowledge, is that there's grief going on right now. And grief shows up in that moment. I call it, with my staff, I call it the COVID effect. I got a text from somebody the other day, big long text, all about just misunderstanding a voicemail. It was not a big deal, but it was this huge long text. And then I called this individual, and then they were crying, and then there was upset, and I listened and I listened and I listened, and I said, "Are you okay? Are you all right?" And they said, "Yeah, I think this is that thing you were talking about." It's not the moment, it's the climate we're in. This is why we all have to be especially gentle and especially kind. And as leaders, it's so hard because we end up carrying a lot of this. And it's really important for us to have these role models, these people we aspire to, that remind us that people have been through difficult things before. And it may seem like this is the first and most horrible thing, and for some of us it might be. But there are people who've come before us and dealt with things. They are a roadmap for us to lead us through. And so are many other things. So now, if you've been with me long enough, you also know that I need you to have a little levity, because laughter makes the heart lighter. Okay, that's like a really trite kind of euphemism. But what it does do, what laughter does do, what thinking the opposite of something does do, is it opens space. It opens and clears the way. You know, if you have a good laugh or something is different, it makes you think differently. So here's your big question. Here's a poll. Bret is going to put up a poll for you right now. This is a very serious poll. This is intense stuff here. Your favorite comfort food right now during this extraordinary period in the world. Is it pot roast and comfort food? Is it chocolate? Is it ice cream? Is it something healthy? So, excuse me. By the way, that's just getting over a sinus infection. That's not the bad thing. That's just an old sinus infection. So let's have a little fun. What's your favorite comfort food? And thinking about how that's may or may not be helping or not. And so then the next poll that we're going to have is going to be your favorite energy drink. Now I've got mine right here. I actually got a latte, little espresso machine before all this started, because I wanted to save money, and I figured I could do that and get my Starbucks fix by making myself a latte every morning. So what's your favorite energy drink? Is it espresso? Is it something in a can? Is it an IV of coffee? Or is it other? And so Bret's going to give us the report on that. And you tell me when you're ready, Bret. Are you ready?
Yeah, we're just wrapping up the favorite energy drink. We're going to close that now and then go back to the food. Share our poll here. All right, so for 30% of folks, it's pot roast or comfort food. Anything chocolate for 39%.
Oh, yeah.
Ice cream gets 21%, and something healthy gets 17%.
How about the drinks, Bret?
All right, for our drinks, espresso gets 11% of the vote. Something in a can, 13%. Coffee IV drip is 41%. Other is 38%.
All right, you are my people. Now we know how it is that we are getting through this and surviving through this. So, Bret, I need to get back to my PowerPoint. Am I still on my PowerPoint?
You are, yes, we can see it.
Okay, because I can't see it. So, sorry guys, technical thing. And because I have my picture up, but I can't see my Powerpoint.
You may go down to, you want to go down to your start bar? Oh, there we go.
Got it.
Okay.
I got it. All right, so here's where we're at. We're in this together. And whether or not we're sitting there with a pot roast, with whatever it is that gives you a little comfort, these are really important pleasures, and it refocuses us. We need to have a little levity during these times. Animals are a great source of levity. Just before we got on this call, my giant three-legged cat, Henry, was walking around the house yowling. And I asked Kathy and Bret, I said, can you hear him? I can't find him, but he's yowling. And they said, no, we can't hear him. So we have so much in our world that we can turn to that will lighten our hearts, because at this point, we need that. And we need to have the discipline of making sure that we take care of ourselves. All right, so let's start off with the first thing here. Here's the theme, and Kathy led it off really well. If you can see this, if you're on the phone, you can't see this, but I'm going to read this. Here's what we're going to talk about for the day, our topics: the plan for you and your staff, operational planning, program planning, communications planning, development planning. Now, I've been around our industry for such a long time, and I'm a horse person. And there's a real hesitancy sometimes to do anything but work with our clients, be with our clients, enjoy them, love the horses. Planning, schmanning, I'm not into it. Guys, this will save all of us. It will save us for the 70,000 people who are relying on us to do our job as leaders. Never have our leadership skills been tested the way they are right now. And so plan is going to be a theme today. Now, if that's not your thing, and if you're not, and if you're all of a sudden your breath is getting shallow and you're thinking, oh my God, I can't do this. Remember what you're supposed to do today. You're supposed to breathe. Think about a time where you're creative. Maybe you're out riding your horse. You call on the discipline that you have as leaders and take a deep breath, because there's going to be a lot of information here momentarily, okay? You can do this. Stick with me, all right? So why do we plan? We plan because if we don't have a roadmap, we won't know where we're going. And it seems like that's so obvious, but what's really key in this environment right now, there is no normal. All bets are off. Everything is up in the air. And this is hard, and it can be awful. But here's a really interesting thought about this. What if we look at this period of time, and I'm not saying look at it with some sunny, happy, Pollyanna, oh, we'll do it, that's part of what we have to do. No, but what if we really look at this period of time as an opportunity for us to imagine how much stronger we can emerge from this period of time? I was speaking to an executive director at a big center in New York yesterday morning, and she said to me, you know, I tell you what, there's a lot of stuff I was supposed to be doing. And I wasn't doing it because I had so many other things in the day-to-day. The gift right now is that everything is clear to me. Everything is clear what I need to be doing to create my organization to be more sustainable, to help my organization thrive. And then our conversation was about one aspect of how to get started. So the best thing she realized is that she has a plan now, and she hadn't been getting to the plan, but now all she's got right now is the plan and time. So this is what we need to come out of today with. Even if you get one bullet of action in each of the areas we talk about, it's the start of a plan, okay? I want to readjust how we think about timeframes and how we think about planning. So what we're going to get from this space that we create for planning is we're going to get creativity, we're going to get energy, we're going to get ideas that we never thought we had. And that's one of the many gifts that we will get from this period of time. But here's a very important distinction that I want all of us to be on the same page about. At the Shea Center, I used to think of our work in 12-month, 24-month, and 36-month increments. So 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, okay? That's how I used to think about our planning. Now, our planning is 2 weeks, 4 weeks, and 8 weeks. And, excuse me. So one of the plans we just had to adjust is the FF FFCRA, Families First something Act. Anyways, we interpreted it one way, and then the Labor Department interpreted it another way. So we had all this plan written out, but we had a plan. And then we looked at how that was written, and we went, oh, okay, that doesn't apply to us directly. And so we had to pivot, but we had a plan. And we knew what we were supposed to be doing, and we knew that we were generally going in a certain direction, and we could alter that based on the fact that we already had a plan. So thinking differently about our time frame of planning is going to be very important. I'm working harder than I've ever worked in my whole life, and so are my team. But we're doing it here. I'm in my TV room right now, in my office. My desk is here, and I'm working here harder than ever, but it's because I have to work differently. Every single thing I do is different. I needed to fax somebody. My fax machine does what it works, but my scanner doesn't work. And then I had to think, so there's all these little things that are going to come up. Oh, I want to send a note. Oh, wait, I didn't have note cards here. Oh, wait, my assistant is now virtual. I mean, there's all these things about how we work that is completely changed. And it's okay to grieve that that's changed. It's okay to acknowledge that this has changed. What's not okay is that we stay there. We have to keep moving. So our planning process has evolved. And here's some things that we've done in regards to that. We're creating our services to be virtual. And we could have a whole wonderful, fascinating conversation about that impact. But we've grabbed Zoom and we love it. And there's a free version of Zoom that you can use that's 40 minutes and you can get a free account. And then TechSoup, if you're not familiar with TechSoup, 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 they essentially offer big software programs for nonprofits at very reduced rates. So TechSoup has a Zoom license that's very reasonable because we're now doing volunteer trainings with Zoom, and they're so excited to be connected back to our program. Because we have a skeleton crew on site to care for the horses, the shelter-in-place plan allows for animal care, elder care, dependent care, and our horses fit that. So we've got safe social distancing. Now that the mask evidence is coming to the forefront, everyone, even if they're outside, they're going to be wearing masks. But we are able to have these marvelous things via Zoom. We are in crisis communications mode. And what that means is that we've examined each channel of communications, and I've got someone deputized to be communicating the message on those channels. And I know that all of us vary in staff sizes, but we have volunteers who are itching to help us. Get a Zoom account, you can connect them to you. I have one of my staff who used to work with National Charity League, and they got a free Zoom account, and they'd do 40 minutes, and then their call would time out, and then they'd all dial back up and they'd get back on. So it was a way for them to use that free account and continue to have the time they need to collaborate. So I'm communicating in target groups in a way that I've never done before. So this time, this communication, this crisis communication becomes really essential to navigate your plan and to engage everyone with your plan, okay? This is how I think of it. And I've always been fascinated with the heavy horses. I rescued one some years ago, big, giant Belgian, 18.5 hands. But it's really important, if you understand driving at all, and I understand like this much driving and love it. It's a very dangerous sport, but I love it. And what you need to understand about this picture, there's a lot going on here. So the horse is back at the wagon. And for those of you who drive, I'm sorry I don't know the terminology properly, but the guys at the back of the team, they have a specific job. They're the strong ones. They're the ones who really control where the wagon is going. And you've got your leaders up on top of the wagon. You even have a dog. You have beer. Beer is good. But each of these horses leans into the harness. They each have a very specific role in the driving team. Our job as leaders is to assess where these people should be in the team and then harness those skills. And even if you're terrified and you have no idea where you're going, somebody's got to be in charge. And it's you. It's me. We can do this. But I love this image, and I love the metaphor that this represents for who we are as an industry. So in times of crisis, you as the leader, people look to you, they count on you, and whether or not you actually know what you feel like you know what you're doing, make it up, guys. We can do this. You need to take care of yourself. And that's one of the first things that our board and executive committee asked of me. They said, are you taking care of yourself? Are you all right? Because they recognize what I realized was that we must preserve the leadership and the intellectual capacity and the strength and the safety of the organization. And then we need to take care of the staff. And you may be thinking, my horses are my first priority. And it's true. It's true. Our animals are everything to us. But if we don't preserve who the staff are and who you are as the leader, then we don't have anything to come back out of this time to serve those 70,000 people who need us so very much. So the other thing about serving the staff, different regions of the country are responding to COVID-19 differently. There are states who yet have not issued shelter in place. You may be listening to me and thinking, this isn't such a big deal. But a virus has brought the world to its knees. And so we need to be the people who are proactive about protecting everybody. I had a conversation with my staff on Monday. I said, guys, masks are coming. Because a good friend of mine is a World Health expert. She flies around the world. She's a Stanford doctor, and she's extraordinary. And she sent me a message last week and said, Dana, get everyone ready, because for us to truly fight this, you're going to need masks. And I floated this to my staff. And, there were a few of them who said, I'm not wearing no stinking mask. 4 days later, we're at a point now where we're hearing this. We need to protect everybody. We need to protect our staff. And we need to be our staff's greatest champions. Interestingly, in these conversations, boards have different reactions to how this works. We have different reactions to this concept of protect yourself, protect your staff. But who would you be without your staff and without you? So we have to protect the core and the heart of these organizations. And I love our horses. I love, love, love our horses, but they have not yet learned to dial a phone, and they're terrible conversationalists. So I'm just saying, we need to keep the people intact so we can protect you and protect our horses and protect our clients. So what the staff plan looks like is we need to be thinking about our staff needs. What are our staff needs? It means you need to understand what Kathy was talking about with regards to the SBA loans that are available, and that's through the CARES Act. There's a handout uploaded to this webinar, and on your little menu, you can download the handout from PATH about the CARES Act. And don't put this off. Kathy's absolutely right. Get in line and get the application filled out. Now, here's the thing. If you don't know how to do that, that's okay, because we are surrounded by people who want to help. So who's on your team? That's the next question. I took a list of our staff members and I asked, okay, what are their gifts? What gifts don't I know about? And I asked around and said, what gifts don't I know about from this person? And what do I not know about this person? The same is true whether it's staff, whether it's volunteers, board members. There are so many gifts out there, and you have to think about our image of harnessing the team. if you put the right person in charge of this, if you're not the right person to do the SBA application, find that right person and find them immediately. Because this is money that could really help us get through this period of time. And that is something that every single one of you should be writing down right now as an action item if you haven't done this yet already. There is someone in your community who is waiting desperately to help you. CPAs now have until July to file tax returns. So if you've got a CPA in your community who wants to volunteer and help you, this would be a great role for them. Get this done in the next 72 hours, if not today, okay? Who's on your team? So I made this list of strengths. I made this list of what are your gifts? And I took these and I started factoring these into the plan. And I'm communicating now with my staff about them. My first level of communication when all this began was, I need to take care of you. I need to make sure you know you're safe. How can I help you? What do you need? Are you all right? Those are 3 phrases that I say almost every single time I interact with somebody. And this is really important because what's in your plan for your staff is the who. Who is on your team? Guys, you got to be realistic. If there's someone in your world who's not particularly helpful, don't feel that you need to bring them along in this particular process. This is the time for you to be brave, for you to be lovingly candid, because you need to have people who are willing to follow, and then when you deputize them, they will lead. So all of you listening to me right now know this person that may be so fearful that you need to give them some space over here. And I'm going to let you be over here, and I'm going to deputize this person. You need to look carefully at your team and love them and support them, because you are also taking good care of yourself. So there's something in your cup to give to someone else. Safety, 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 safety. Our whole industry is built on safety, okay? Who would have thought that we would put people with disabilities on horses, flight animals? Well, we do. We do. We are brave enough and smart enough and careful enough. We have the path standards. Guys, we already have so much infrastructure. We just need to remember we have it. We need to use it. Your roles on your staff are going to be based on the needs of your organization. And if somebody has extra special gifts, like, for example, one of our team in another life was a truly extraordinary social media marketing expert. And we're so lucky that she's giving us those skills, and we've tapped those skills because we really need them. She manages one of our main channels of communication right now. Policies. Oh my God, some of you just might have fallen off the edge, because policies become so important. If you have people working at home, you need just a brief policy that explains what that looks like. Here's your designated work plan. Here's the way you clock your hours in and out, and here's your plan that's been approved, so that you don't end up with an issue on the other end of all of this with somebody saying, oh my gosh, I worked so many hours and I was never paid for them. Guys, we have to be calm enough and present enough to actually think about that. There will be people in this period of time who feel that they may take advantage of this period of time. And everybody needs to cope in the way they need to cope, but we as leaders will plan for the things that will protect our organizations. So I'm not flying in airplanes right now, but I love the speech at the beginning because it reminds me of something really important. In the event of an emergency, air masks will drop down from the ceiling. Be sure to put your air mask on first so you can help your neighbor. This is really true in this moment right now. Our industry is rife with people who want to do this all themselves, who are just so good at the hard work. Do it myself. Sorry, this is now the time that you get to ask for help. And this is where you may need to tap some courage, because you may not be used to asking for help. We need to ask for help, because I am here to tell you, we have people knocking down the doors right now saying, how can I help? What can I do? How can I help? So we're figuring out how they can help virtually. And we're tapping into those gifts, because even in the worst crises, people find a center, they find their own ground by helping. And guess what we need? Lots of help. And guess what we get to be? We get to be that conduit to all that help. How do we know what help we need? We plan. So I'm glad this is on a Friday. This webinar is on a Friday. This gives you time to think about this over the weekend. And you think, oh my God, I can't do that. I've got this, this, and this. And for those of us, well, not me, but who have children at home, and we're now schooling our children at home and realizing that teachers are saints, there's all these other demands on our time. But find that time for yourself and give yourself that blessing, because we have so many people relying on us to be present, to breathe. These are just ideas, guys. This is a way to begin. And you might think, okay, dang, show me the money. I want to get to the money. We're going to get to the money. But this is a priority. This is your first priority, because everybody's going to ask you when you start to want to talk to people about money. If you've done so already, I'm sure you have, but they're going to want to know, what's your plan? What are you doing? How are you taking care of people? So so we're going on to the next section. We're going to talk about communications and a communications plan. In a communications plan, specifically a crisis communications plan, our job here is to protect anyone endangered by the crisis, ensure that key audiences are kept informed, and that the organization survives, because we have so many people as donors, as community members who are invested. And this, and this goes without saying, or maybe I will say it again, kids like this little one here in the picture, they're the reason that we're so invested in this. If you don't feel brave, pull out a picture of one of your clients. Keep that picture handy and let it inspire you. Our biggest fundraising event is our barbecue. And 9/11 happened 2 weeks before our barbecue. And also, my mom passed away in an auto accident the week of 9/11, so there were no airplanes flying, so I couldn't get from California to Seattle to be with my mom, who was hooked up to machines, and I needed to basically be there to be able to legally make this decision. So here's these extraordinary crises. But we had a plan. And I went in and I spent 3 hours at work. I had the plan. I gave the plan over to my deputies. I deputized all kinds of strength. I called our board. I talked with them. And then I left, because there was a plan. Now, this was 9/11, so it's 19 years ago. And we were much smaller, but there's a plan. You've got to work to a plan. And the communications is no different. So in a communications crisis, you need to really narrow down who talks, who speaks for your organization. What is their message? Are they honest and open? And I don't mean honest like, my God, we're going to close tomorrow. Things are dire. This is horrible. It's honest in a way that we say, here's where we are, here's what the plan is, and we need some help. We need to be able to inform and keep key communities informed, keep key members informed. I do personally 4 different channels of communication with my staff, with the board, with key donors, and with key community leaders. I've got 4 channels that I'm directly managing, and then I'm overseeing how our communications goes out through all the other channels. It's important to speak with this consistent voice. If you have anybody at cross purposes, this is not the time for that. We need everybody unified and leaning into that visual metaphor of the harness. And if you have someone who wants to pull and go the other way, they need to become aligned with who you are and who your organization is. Because now is not the time for dissension. It's also not the time to become Captain Bligh. You don't want to be cruel about it. but you do need to rally the troops, because everybody's going to have their own experience and everybody has their own, the world is affected, but what people respond to is kindness and clarity and a plan. You need to update early and often, and you need a social media plan. And social media is becoming an enormous impact for us. And technology, good Lord, technology. So we begin early with these communications. And as I said to you earlier, how I begin every communication is in some way with these questions. How are you? How can we help you? And we're grateful for you. How are you? How can we help you? We're grateful for you. Those three things said to people help you get on an empathy page with people so that they can clear their hearts and minds and be reminded that they are connected to you. They're connected to your program. They're connected to your success. And in a world filled with uncertainty, you are certain. You provide the love and the focus and the service to our community that so many people rely on. So we're an industry inherently filled with loving, caregiving people. There's a built-in culture of caring in our community. And it's the nature of human services for nonprofits. One of the interesting things about this particular crisis is that the industry affected so deeply is also the industry that's going to be called on to serve those who need us the most. So my colleagues here in Orange County, California, that are in food banks, clinics, we're all coming together. One of my colleagues runs Boys and Girls Clubs. He's got 5 of them. He's amazing. He got in touch with the local hospital and said, look, I have a clinic in one of my clubs. Can I turn this over to you? I don't know how we're going to pay for this, but you need this. The more that we come together as a team, as a community, the stronger we will be. In your communications plan, we've got personal notes, we've got photos, we have FaceTime, we have videos, we have email, we have Zoom meetings. We're using all of those channels, and we're using all of them in some way, shape, or form. And here's the persons we use them with first. After my staff, it became all about our clients. You got to think from their perspective, especially some of our clients for whom routine is their stability. Their routine, if they are home sheltering in place, has just been completely transformed and changed. Their parents, who may or may not have the full-time skills to be with their children 24/7, to be honest, the parents have been getting this break when the kids are getting their structured life. We need to put ourselves in their shoes because, and here's the really important part, because when we talk to our donors, we are able to convey, this is what it's like for my kids at Shea right now. And this is what's happening for them. So the more we communicate and reach out, I've got this growing file of beautiful pictures of kids that are being FaceTimed by staff. I've got little videos that families have sent to us saying, my gosh, thank you for sending us pictures of our horse, because before we knew that something was coming. So we made copies of all the pictures of our horses in the barn. And then we had all our instructors write notes to every single client from their horse saying, we know we might not see you for a while, but know we will miss you and we will be here for you. And I've got this grand photo, which I'll show you later, of a little kid kissing the photo of his horse when he got it in the mail. These things are moments that lift up our families, that lift up our community. And I have major donors who open the little briefing I send every day, or mostly every day, actually, it's really mostly. And they say, I so look forward to it because I know that you will have some good news for me. So anyways, this is 2 of those photos I was talking about. So you see Terry, who's one of our speech pathologists, she's doing a telehealth treatment, a speech pathology treatment with her little person with Bliss. This child had been demonstrating extraordinary behaviors because of being at home. And just the relationship, and this is really what I want to drive home to all of us today, is that our centers are not located at our facilities. I mean, that's our physical location. That's where our people live. But where the centers are, where we are as an industry, is in the hearts and the minds and the relationships of those we serve and of our families. And if you start thinking about how do I take that and bring that to people, we've got something there, okay? The other one, this is Emerson. He's our facility dog. And that's Emerson's client, Henry. He's 95 years old. He's a World War II veteran. And he's terribly missing Shea Center. And so Trish FaceTimed Emerson and Henry. And it just completely transformed Henry's day, his daughter's day, because Henry's caregiver is his daughter. So these are moments that we can take a deep breath and go, wait, I have something. I can offer this to the world. We can figure this out. So this is a little break for you right now, this little picture. Because now I need you to be ready, because we're going to move on and we're going to talk about an interim operating plan. And this is the thing that keeps you structured and governed. And so there's all these little plans. And your communication plan could look something like 3 bullets. FaceTime, I'm going to reach out and communicate with everybody. And I'm going to figure out who can be in charge of this for me and speak as one voice, one message. All right, are you ready? Here we go. Interim operating plan. So guys, we need to be talking about these things. We've already talked about staff. And we've talked a little bit about clients with telehealth and other things we can do for them. But we need to talk about the horses are going to be in this part of it. And I only have a brief part about the horses, but we'll get there. Our volunteers, our facilities, our business and finance operations, our communications, our development, and the COVID-19 safety measures. This plan, this operating plan, is what I'm updating every 2, 4, or 8 weeks, okay? So there's a lot of options with the horses, and here's a little bit about the horses I want to talk about. In Southern California, here in Orange County especially, we don't have land. It's really expensive here. Some of you may have pastures, and your horses may be out to pasture. And it's so different, it's so regional. There was a question that came in ahead of time. How do I get my horses ready after all this time off? Well, for us, we have a skeleton crew of staff that are exercising the horses every day. And they're getting good workouts. These are very accomplished riders and some volunteers, and it's all with safe social distancing. And now, even though we're out in the open air, also with masks. But here's the thing. These guys, these horses have been working. And I was walking through the barn, and I'm a horse person, and I looked at some of them and I said, why are you chunky? Why are you chunky right now? Because we realized, and again, this is all the learning, all bets are off. Nothing is the same. We looked at this and we realized, oh, okay, they're getting their regular work plan, but they're also not getting, the 2 to 3 hours a day of walking, gentle walking and lessons, all that extra movement. So again, we caught ourselves saying, okay, we need to alter the plan. We need to think about how we're working. So with regard to your horses, you need to figure out what is best for you. We're finding ways to keep them moving during this period of time. So communications we've talked about, development we're about to talk about, facilities you've got, sorry, I jumped on this for you. Facilities, business and finance. Okay, small business administration, SBA, you need to apply, okay? That has to be done. That's your bullet point for business and finance. Now, if you have somebody else in your world who can do some projections for you, we did 4 different financial scenarios to take a look at and see what would possibly happen for us. So we have 4 different little financial pictures that we can look at and see which way we're going, and then we know how to correct for those pictures. Now remember, guys, ask for help, okay? You might be thinking, this isn't my thing. But for somebody, it is their thing, and somebody really wants to help right now. Somebody really, really wants to help. So I'm going to move along here and talk a little bit about some of our client programming. Remember I mentioned that we sent letters out to all of our clients when we knew that shelter in place was coming here in Orange County. So the little one on my left with the little dish of food in front of him and the 2 pictures of Boog, the pony, this is the little guy who kissed the pictures of his pony, and his mama texted us and said, you have made my whole week and my whole day, because he's been missing this so much. And the center child is the one, the little girl in the middle, that's her reaction when she got to see her letter from her pony. We also took pictures from our summer camps. We have coloring books, and we basically take a photo and sort of gray it out, and then we turn those into coloring books. And so this was a little coloring page we sent to one of these kids to give her a reminder about her favorite part of the Shea Center is Emerson. And we're also putting this in our e-blast that goes out weekly. That's a change in how we function. So there's a downloadable PDF in our e-blast. And our e-blast has been completely restructured to be focused on our clients and on updating our donors. So each week, our families are getting something from us so that they can access this to help their kids. We're getting some of the teletreatments, tele-wellness, and other activities up and running via Zoom. We're doing little videos. Some of our staff are going to the barn, and again, safe distancing. There's only a very small number of staff allowed on site right now, but we're doing sometimes a FaceTime, sometimes a little video. Remember I told you about TechSoup. You can get Zoom from TechSoup. You can also get a free Zoom account. Just sign up and you can get a free Zoom account with 40-minute increments of time. So the value of tech in your client programming will be a marvelous way for us to continue to think outside the box and think in terms of how we can create value. Now, you might be wondering, what are we going to do next? And I've saved at least the most amount of time for us to do what is truly going to be the transformative component of what we do. But first, I want you to have a moment. I want you to stare at baby horses. I want you to breathe. I want you to remember what it is we love so much about these beautiful creatures and how much they have to offer us. Take a deep breath, get present, get focused, because we're going to talk about development. Okay, are you ready? Did you get your baby horse fix? Are you good? Okay, here we go. What number one reason people give? I'm imagining now 800 people hollering back at me because they're asked. Okay, really important. The number one reason people give is because they are asked. No ask, no gift. You have to remember right now, people want to help.
Due to some technical difficulties, Dana continued this conversation via phone.
We need to develop a plan, and the plan is to have a wonderful resource in the handouts section, and it's from CCS Consulting. And CCS Consulting is a firm that we've been working with at the Shea Center for a project that we're doing. And what you have there is all the makings of walking yourself through a very practical, building up a very practical plan. Yes, it's a difficult time, but there are still people who will and want to give. There are scenarios it's really important to understand with who you are as an organization. So who you are is everyone in your organization. Is development in, but the CEO is out. They're worried. They're fearful. Are the development team or your development volunteers and your CEO in, but your board is out? They said, no, we can't ask for any money right now. We can't do this. Or is there somebody maybe on the outside saying, oh my gosh, we can't do anything at all. We shouldn't do anything at all. The truth is, you need to come to agreement. You need to come to a plan around which you can build access and support for the great work of your organization. You already have a marvelous story to tell, and getting yourself organized around what that story is becomes really critical in making that work. This agreement between all of the team responsible for creating any resources is really important. Listen, if your program is largely fee-based, this is your moment. All right, I'll try connecting to my computer via the phone. It wouldn't let me back into the meeting, Kathy, because it said I can't have more meetings going at once, but I'll try it again. So I'm going to keep talking. This is your moment as an organization to figure out how you might be able to ask for support. It's already launched, Kathy, so it's showing up on my computer as I talk. Is this any better? Because I can hear myself on my computer just fine.
Yeah, I think Bret has to give you back the controls so that we can see your screen. There we go. It's getting there.
Can you turn off your speakers on your computer if you can, please?
Yeah. All right. Is that better?
Yep.
That's great. Now we're ready for you to go ahead and pull up the presentation, the PowerPoint again. We can see your screen.
Okay. Are we ready?
Yep.
We're ready.
Okay, people. Thanks for your patience. Just your pain in the backside. I hope you're still with us. How many people do we still have on the call, Bret?
We have 570 still connected.
Okay, so you people are awesome. You have stayed the course. All right, look, let's talk about this. Take this in. It's okay to ask for help. People want to help, and let them decide how they're going to help. This is an image from Hurricane Katrina. There are so many amazing stories that have come out of these periods of time, and the data shows us. There's in your handouts for people who are data friendly and worry about this. The data shows us that if you stay the course for asking for support during difficult times and natural disasters, people respond. They still respond. And what happens if you don't ask during this period of time, then you'll have nothing when you come out of it. So it's time for us to ask. And please download in your handouts section, download this marvelous tool from CCS, because it will be a roadmap for you of how to start asking. Listen, courage wins. Boldness wins. A plan wins. And if we are not courageous, if we don't think about these things and we don't plan for these things, then nothing will happen. And we want something to happen. We need to preserve the strength of the organization that you run, that you are part of. So as we go forward, the development plan tools, thank you to CCS. They're an international fundraising firm. The COVID-19 emergency campaign book is in the handouts included on this call. So please take a look at this. We talked a little bit just briefly while we were breaking up. I'm going to address this again. It's hard for people to get agreement on, is everyone in? You're all saying, yes, we need to raise funds, but we don't quite know how to start that conversation. Remember my 3 questions. How are you? Is everything all right? What can I do for you? We're grateful for you. Because more than ever, as fundraising folks, our empathy button needs to be on and tuned into full gear. Is your development team says, or you've got board members who say, yes, go raise money, but you as the CEO are saying, we can't, people around us are hurting. You guys, we need to come to agreement, because, and another scenario is the development and the CEO are in or, you've got fundraising volunteers and you as the exec are in, but your board says, no, you can't raise any money. Guys, you must be bold and you must be courageous. You may have somebody who's sitting on the sidelines saying, we'll never make it. And, well, that's true if that's what you believe. But everybody has to be in on the plan, because if they're not, then you won't get where you want to go. At the end of the day, as the leader of your organization, we accept a charge to help keep our organizations supported and viable, because development is a team sport. We all need to be in. That includes any staff you have, any volunteers you have. We all have to be in, or our clients lose. And if you need to tap that courage and find that courage, that you just have to look at a picture of this little person and your little people and your big people. And we all need to be present to the fact that we have to do things different. Remember earlier I said, all bets are off. Everything we do has to be different and think about things differently. You are given an opportunity in this period to rise and to do things that are fearful, but you can do them. You've got a little courage. So what's our message? How do we frame this message? First and foremost, we need to approach all of our development activities during this time with great empathy, with seeking to understand and being present to hearing where our donor partners are. Because what I'm discovering is that as I listen carefully to each of our donor partners, they are then cleared, their brains and their hearts are cleared out, and then they say to me, how's the Shea Center? How are things? Is everything all right? And then when I tell people that we're reaching out to our clients and that we're able to, through the strength of our relationships, able to be of service to our clients, and we're finding ways to do actual treatments, they are fascinated. And I went with one of our marvelous board members, he said, well, guess everything's all shut down. That's too bad. And I said, no. We got stuff going on, and we're figuring this out, and we're going to figure this out. We will not let this period of time define us. What we can do is define how we react to this period of time. So our message as we begin to reach out to our communities is first empathy. Where is the person that we are sitting across from on our phone, on our virtual platform? And then we can say, you know what? We need help, and it's urgent, and here's what we're doing, and here's how you can help. Now you need to be prepared. And if you take a good look at this marvelous tool that our friends at CCS have shared with us, you're going to get a wonderful outline of everything from making yourself a little plan, sample ideas, sample letters. All of these things are on that wonderful plan, that wonderful tool. And here are some thoughts, highlights from that tool. We can say to people, hey, we've established a fund, and this fund will take care of horse care. It will take care of the people who need to care for the horses, and it will also help me preserve my staff and help keep them whole. So yes, there are resources from the Employment Development Department. They can get unemployment, but frankly, I can get them working part of the time, and because we could be doing things to connect to our clients in a safe manner. But you need to have a plan and explain what your plan is. And then we need to have a list. Who are we going to talk to, and how are we going to talk to them? We need to talk to our close friends, our major donors, our board members. And if you'll notice within the plan that you pull down from CCS, they are prioritized. If your board is unable to help, then you're going to talk to your close friends and other people. If you say, oh, we're all fee-based, I can't do anything with this fundraising, it's time. It's time for you to do something with the fundraising. Now more than ever, your clients need you to be brave and courageous about who we could talk to. Now, if you are drawing a blank and you're sitting there and thinking, I can't talk to anybody, I don't know anybody, there's nobody who will help, then you need to get somebody in the room with you who can think about that possibility. Because remember, we need to ask for help, and we need to ask for help all around us. The hardest part of this period of time is going to be allowing ourselves to work differently and keeping ourselves clear enough that we can be visionary and help move the organization to security and to safety. It may not be stability yet, but at least we get the organization and the people into safety. So the next thing is how we reach out. Now, in this very unusual time, I can't go face-to-face with you. I can't bring you down to the Shea Center and show you what's going on. So what I'm doing, I call people. I talk to them. How are you? How's the new grandbaby? Tell me your story. How have you been? Are you safe? Are you okay? Is there anything that you need? Can I help you? And I mean that with every fiber of my being. Even though I'm still worried and I'm still fearful, I have to step outside of myself to be present for other people, because then the next question after all of this is they say to me, how are things at the Shea Center? Is everything okay? So one of our longest time friends, I called them, they're sheltering in place, and after they had shared with me everything that was going on in their lives, there was this big pause, and they said, what can we do? How do we help? You know what? And I explained to them, here are the things we're doing to remain helpful. I explained how our clients are suffering because they are not able to access their services. And here we are, based on the strength of our relationships, we're reaching out, we're doing it safely, and we're ensuring that our clients are getting the best from us during this period of time, and that we're reinventing how we think about what we do. And then I shared this with this former board leader, and there was a huge pause, and I felt the whole tone of the conversation lift. I felt the whole thing change. And then I felt lightness at the other end of the phone. And I felt this person saying, this is the best thing I've heard in weeks. You know we're with you, right? You know we're there for you. We'll do whatever the Shea Center needs. You have a huge piece of our heart. We're there. And this is how all my conversations are going with people. And for some people, they may say, I can't be there financially, but what do you need me to do? So I have one of our longtime volunteers who's a wonderful seamstress. She's making masks for every single member of my staff. And frankly, I'm making masks. It's a way for me to be sane, is to use my hands. So other donors, you've got, close friends, and these are personal calls, highly personal emails. I prefer voice to voice always, but it may or may not work for somebody. And when I'm getting ready to talk to somebody about the money side of it, I will ask them, is it all right for me to talk with you about this at this time? Would this be all right? Because you are so important to us, and I want to make sure that I approach you in a way that's all right with you. You guys, this is the time for kindness, gentle candor, and being really humane and loving with everybody we encounter. So included in this plan is everything to kind of outline some of this, but I would encourage you, do not hide behind the email. Get on the phone and talk to people. But first, you're going to make your plan, and you're going to follow up with your plan, because then we are showing we have been preparing, we are proactive, we're thinking about this. So there are still things that are true in all fundraising. The right person and the right ask and the right purpose. There is no more right time per se. There is a right time in sense of if you know someone has just lost their business, and what you might do is just reach out and say, I am here for you. What can we do for you? What an extraordinary call for somebody to get, because that's how we're reaching out to people. We're sending little postcards that simply say, we stand with you. We're here. We'll be here, and we want to help. How can we help you? And that will turn the entire nature of the conversation that you are having with people. You'll need to keep track of what you ask of people, and you need to keep track of what they give, because when people are giving during this kind of time frame, during this kind of crisis, these become even more committed to your organization than they ever were before. You'll need to steward these gifts because you're working your plan and altering and monitoring your plan. You will know how to be following up with people and communicating with them directly. Now, Kathy, I'm going to do a time check right now because we lost about 8 minutes with futzing around. Do we have those 8 minutes if I go over? Kathy or Bret?
We should be
feel free to
fine.
continue.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just checking.
Keep going.
Okay, I'm on it. Preparing to ask. Here we go. Outline the crisis. Okay, everybody knows what the crisis is, but let's frame it. Let's frame it in relation to your clients. Folks, people don't think about our clients in the way we do. They don't have the same knowledge that we have. They don't have the same frame that we have. So they may not understand, like this young man in the picture. This is Paul. And now Paul is a very bright, cognitive young man. He's an amazing young man. But for him not having access to his therapies, clearly as a person who uses a wheelchair full time, we're helping to educate his parents on how to keep Paul's body comfortable, how to keep him, doing the things that keep him able in his world. So we've been able to help with those things. And you need to outline the crisis and frame it in relation to your clients. And because you are the main source of support for your clients, that's framing it for you. What's the purpose of your emergency fund? Remember what I said, the very first thing. Do not be afraid to say, I have to keep my staff connected to my clients. I have to keep myself connected to my clients. So the purpose of our fund is threefold. We're going to use this to continue to have our staff reaching out to clients and caring for the horses during this period of time. You can't just throw them into a pasture and think they'll be all right. They need to be cared for. And you need to say what is so and have a very clear purpose. You might have some suggested levels that people can participate. Because remember, we get to reinvent how we think about our development roles. We get to reinvent this period of time. So, you might have not had a horse sponsorship program in the past. Maybe you could have one now. You know what, Mrs. Smith? I would love to talk to you about sponsoring Snowflake, because my goal is to get every single one of our horses sponsored at, $5,000 a piece, at $2,000 a piece, whatever is true for you. I want to get them sponsored because then I can get the horses cared for, and in part of that gift to sponsor the horses also helps me sponsor the people who care for the horses. Do not be afraid to tell people that you must have humans doing this work. This is another topic altogether about the idea that it's valid, necessary, and we must have the people to do the work. So don't be afraid of that. Be courage. Be brave. How can you pay for this? Is it easy? You know what? I would love to help sponsor Snowflake, but you know what's going to work best for me is, could I send you a monthly check? And I said, yeah, you can do that. But is it easier for you to charge your credit card monthly? So now remember, when I talked about our COVID plan, our interim operating plan, we need to have some form and way of business to manage that. Now, if you've just checked out and you've gotten overwhelmed, find someone who can do this. Because if you haven't had this before, you need it now. And so find someone who could monitor that. You have a CPA who volunteer, a bookkeeper, somebody who can help you with this. This is their gift. This is what they can do. Maybe you have a donor who says, okay, look, let's inspire people to give. I'm going to put up, a challenge gift. And if people will match it, I'll just keep doing that. So these are ways in which you can consider, maybe it's a $5,000 challenge gift. Maybe it's a $10,000. I just spoke to a donor here in Orange County. By the way, this was not for the Shea Center. This is one of our rider parents who's a very, very, very successful person. And he wanted to give to something that isn't Shea. Because I'm committed to making sure that everybody gets resources during this period of time, I vetted an organization for him and found some organization here in Orange County that he could make a sizable gift to. He wasn't going to give to Shea, but it was really important that he give somewhere. And he ended up giving a big gift to our local food bank. So again, it's reaching out and being of service to others and keeping your people next to you. Keep your friends close and be in communication with them. Don't be afraid to call them, because now you're going to call them with your 3 questions. How are you? What can I do for you? We're grateful for you. People aren't hearing that these days, and they need to hear that. Keep your friends close. Now, when we start talking about gifts, ask permission. Check in. Is it all right if I share with you what's going on at my center, at our center, and how we're helping our kids or some of the challenges our kids are having? And even if they say no, it's okay. Be brave and be courageous. Keep notes. Be persistent. Your thank you notes for those who make gifts are vital. So have somebody able to keep track of all of this good work that you are doing. So here's a role play, and this is actually one of our little kids from years ago. And Max learned to speak at Shea, ostensibly, and his first word was yellow, and he was talking into a banana phone. Now, you'll notice that as I've gone through this presentation, I have given you stories about kids. I've given you stories about their lives and about who they are. So I was talking to Mrs. Smith, who's, anonymous, and Mrs. Smith says, "Oh, guess you're all shut down, can't do anything." And I said, "Well, actually, we have a crew taking care of the horses. We've got a very small crew safely at the, able to get checks and take care of the business. And interestingly, we've been experimenting and doing work with our clients virtually." "Well, that can't work." And I said, "No, wait, it can work, and here's why. Because what we are in is a relationship business. We are here in the business of transforming people's lives by the strength and the quality of the work we do and the way we build that." So when XYZ client this is a true story, one of our little clients began chattering his teeth, and his parents and this little boy, person with autism, completely withdrawing into himself, and he had this very new and alarming habit of chattering his teeth. So we got his therapist on the line, and because this little person has a great relationship with his therapist, talking to his therapist on Zoom, he began to work with this little person, and eventually, within 10 minutes, the teeth chattering stopped, the child started talking again, and he started connecting back to his parents. And then the physical therapist, was able to give the parents activities and plans to work with their child to help mitigate the effects of being alone. I told this story to Mrs. Smith, and Mrs. Smith said, "Okay, listen, here's what we're going to do. Even if you can't have your gala event, we're still going to make a gift to the gala event. That's coming from me personally. And then here's what I want to do for this. I'm going to talk to my foundation. I want to do this." So the generosity lines, the doors just opened up. Once people understand what we're doing, they will be present for us. So in your plan book from CCS, you've got all kinds of stuff from CCS, and you can take a look at that and process it and see how it fits for you. Now, here's the pause, okay? Information overload. I've given you so much data, but I wanted to throw everything I could at you so that you have some tools so that you can be present. And I really appreciate you guys going with the technical challenges. Thank you very much. But, okay, oh boy, now what? What do I do now? So what resonated for you today? How's your courage level? Do you need to pause? Do you need to breathe again? Do you need to put the baby horses back up? Where are you? And think about that, because the best gift you can give yourself after we are not together is for you to sit with yourself and ponder what you've gotten just now, because this is the time. This is that prime time. So the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. And I know that you can do this. I know that you can find a way. Remember these things we talked about today. If we can figure out the technical stuff, I'd be glad to help again if you found this useful. We could break some other things down. But what's really important is that you put in your heart that you have to take one step. And then after you take that one step, you take one step again. Because our clients count on us. I believe in you. We can do this. We have courage because of our clients, because of the 70,000 people we serve who count on us to do this work every day. So thank you. You've got this. Be safe. And I'm just so grateful to have spent my morning with you this morning. Take good care. And I'm turning it back to Kathy now.
Thank you, Dana. All right, I'm going to try to use both the webcam and my speaker. Let me know if I start breaking up. Somebody text me or something. Anyway, Dana, you are a rock star. Thank you so much for the information. Thank you for hanging in there during our technical difficulties. And thank you, everyone, for hanging in there through our technical difficulties. It was great to see the majority of people were able to stay and finish it out. A recording and copy of the PowerPoint will be made available. There's going to be a delay to that because we need to figure out whether we have to re-record anything or whether it works, whether we can edit this and it works the way it is. We will also make the handouts available as well. We will probably send all of this information to all of those that registered for this, as well as put it on our website on our front page eventually so everybody has access. There were a few questions specific to PATH International submitted before the webinar that I want to take just a moment to address. We were asked about an emergency fund. PATH International does have a disaster relief fund. Unfortunately, there's only about $7,000 in it at this time, which of course is not nearly enough to help all the centers. We still are accepting applications, but we're not going to be able to review them and look at them until June, because we need to see how many applications we get, and it's not going to be a lot of money, unfortunately, we're sorry to say. The 2020 International Conference in Missouri is going ahead as scheduled. Someone asked about that. We will continue to monitor conditions to assess if that decision needs to change. But at this moment, we have every intention of holding that conference. I think it'll be a good time for all of us to get back together, get some good education and reconnect. But again, we will assess the situation and make sure it is safe. And then the last question was about the VA money. Whether there was anything that could be done about the fact that nobody has programming right now, and so they can't access that VA money. Unfortunately, the VA has, we have talked to them and they have no plans to extend that grant. So you can still get the VA money come this summer if you're able to go back to programming, but there isn't anything we can do under the current situation. We'll keep checking in with them, see if we can get them to change their mind, but that's where that is at. So thank you everyone for attending. Please know that PATH International is here for you. Don't hesitate to reach out and ask for assistance. Our staff has been adapting very well to working remotely and are available at their respective homes to answer your calls and emails. Our mission is all about you guys. It's to make sure we are doing everything we can to support you. The next webinar that we are looking at is to do a webinar on virtual programming, very specific ideas on how one might do some telehealth or virtual programming around therapeutic riding. We hope to do that webinar in the next week and a half. If you have other ideas and suggestions on how we might be able to support or ideas for webinars that might be useful for people, please email me. It's calm@pathintl.org. I want to hear from you. I want to know you're doing okay, and I want to know if you have any ideas. We're also working on potentially a recording that might help walk people through applying for the loans, as well as how to do this scenario planning and budgeting. But don't wait for that to apply for the loan. I can't emphasize that enough. With that, I want to say again, it has been great spending the morning with you, even with the technical glitches. I want to thank you again.